pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Patty gave you the signal to get going, so we'll get going. Okay, first thing on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Does anyone have any questions, changes, additions to the existing agenda?
Move to approve.
I got a motion by Rick Sauer to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Second by Maggie Bass. There's no other comments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. First, Chris, I think you're going to take this, talk about some modifications on the street project that just finished.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. For your consideration, the first item is a resolution directing modification of existing construction contract, better known as a change order. Change orders 1 and 2 are what actually before you here. So just to note, like, obviously the project is substantially complete. If you've been through the area, there's still some touch-up things that need to be done. Those are things that are on what we call the partial list, etc. But generally, the project is done. So the items that I have before you here, change order 1 is an item that was actually at a request of a private property owner adjacent to the project, where there was some water main repair taking place on undeveloped property to have the water stubbed out. It was actually a private agreement with the property owner and the city. It was paid in full, but obviously to pay the contractor for that additional work, we needed to provide a change order. So, and that the amount of that was $3,475. Change order number 2, this was actually we'll call this more of a maintenance item that was working with Public Works, that we elected to add it to the project more for convenience and cost. Section of 3rd Street, there to the west of 10th Avenue, so 3 blocks north of Main Street, coming west off of 10th Avenue, was a street that was not planned to be part of the project. In fact, because of the condition, it wouldn't have been appropriate for an overlay. But the street deteriorated really badly over the winter, and so something needed to be done. And I call it, for lack of a better term, a skin patch, or it's a paver patch. And so working with Public Works, we proposed to have that paved. Got a quote from the contractor to have that paver patch to hold that road together until something's done in the future. So it'll buy some time. That's basically what it is. So that skin patch overlay was change order number 2. Again, came out at $14,866.90. So those are the items before you. I should note that we will be back. There's some additional items that we have not either finalized the cost or worked out the final cost of the contract, and we'll be bringing those back to a future date. So we will have some additional change orders. And I guess maybe on a side note, I guess I will say that we did get roadway open to traffic before school started, but I'll say the project was a rough endeavor this summer. Nobody will deny that. There's some things related to weather, some things related to the contractor, some scheduling, but just a lot of factors that ended up being challenging. But in the end, they did get it open to traffic for school, and again got it paved and striped shortly afterwards. So.
Kudos to them.
So I guess with that, I'll entertain any questions. Otherwise, for your consideration again is the change order, or the resolution for the change order 1 and 2.
So Chris, on the second change order, this $14,000, is that something that the city is going to take on the responsibility? It's not going to be assessed to anyone?
Correct. That will not be assessed. It cannot be assessed, and it's not the type of, it's not a level of improvement that should be assessed. Again, it looks really nice now, but it won't last a long time, not like the rest of the overlays, but it's going to buy time until that's something.
When does, I don't know, do you guys know when is that scheduled to be in one of the future projects?
Yes, 2023 right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Yeah, and we had to do something similar, was it last year or the year before on First Street? Kind of in that same neighborhood, it just fell apart. One block just totally fell apart over the winter. Something had to be done, and it was basically a paver patch that was done.
So that 14.8, that's for a temporary patch?
For lack of a better term, that's what it is. The whole street just fell apart over the winter, and something had to be done to band-aid it together to buy time.
It's a big bite for a temporary patch.
Yeah.
We were originally looking at, Glenn had priced it out before the contract had been awarded, and we had anything that we could do to talk to the contractor. He had gotten other estimates, and it was about $21,000, so we actually were able to save money by being able to contract with the contractor doing the 2019 project and get it done basically a third cheaper than if we'd have gone with the vendor we were looking at. So we've got extra money in the project that we can use and apply towards this.
An assessment.
I'm not sure if this is a question for you, Chris, or just a question about policy. At what point in time do we require prior approval of the city council for this type of work, or is a contractor just taking it upon himself to take the risk of doing these? And I don't have any question about these.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very prudent and good decision that was made here, but just for policy, what is our policy on at what level of change order?
Well, we do plan for certain contingencies, and certain things are, if they're time constraint and they're within, we'll call it with contingencies or plan. Usually, as long as it's unanimous between staff, we'll often have to make a decision really based on time. We can't wait to bring it back to council. There are items that we've had situations in the past where it's something that maybe doesn't have to be done, but probably recommended that it be done, but it's something that wasn't planned, and those we would bring back before council for a decision.
So if the contractor pursues it, then they're at risk of not getting paid.
Correct, and anything that we have even out there that's pending change orders are things that meaning between the city engineer and the public works director determined had to be done, or time sensitive and had to be decided on. We just haven't maybe finalized exactly negotiated a price. So those are the items that are coming before you. Again, contractor did not elect to do those on his own. So those are items that we as staff had to decide those in the best interest of the city and had that work done.
Excluding time issues, then, is there a percentage of contract that would say, hey, we better run it by the council to make sure that this change order is approved?
No, there is no black and white policy choice that you're looking for. Is that 1%, 2%, 5%? There is no magic black and white number. Historically, we've not had, in most of the reconstructions over the last 10 years, we've not had any major issues or challenges with change orders. As an example, one that we brought back and took on was probably one over here on First Avenue Northwest when we ran into the environmental petroleum issue. That we brought back and talked over with the council and got approval before we instituted what was going to be involved in taking care of that environmental problem, because that was unusual, not common in terms of the dollar amount that we thought the council should act on. The first one, as you take a look at here, the pavement of the private water line, we've gotten reimbursed on that, so that one's really not an issue. The other one is a maintenance item that we could have done under the maintenance budget. However, the pricing worked out better to do it within this project, and we've got funding to do it. And so we try to generally use pretty good common sense of what we do in that area, but know there is no hard and fast policy decision as to what we do. I think the rest of the council would tell you that we've not had generally a history of too much of this occurring. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve the change orders number 1 and 2.
so moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Sean Ryan, second by Bruce Wolf. If there's no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Chris, you'll take the next one?
Yes, I will. Okay, so the next item before you is a resolution, as it's named, is declaring the cost to be assessed, ordering the preparation of the proposed assessment, and calling for the hearing on the proposed assessment. This is the next step in the public improvement process. The final step ultimately is acceptance of the project. But at this point, this is the point where we proceed with part of the funding and the financing on the project. So the project, of course, as I mentioned, is substantially complete. Final costs are not been determined exactly, but the estimated construction cost is estimated about $3.4 million. Final project cost is estimated at about $4 million. Assessment rule has been prepared. It's been based on the city's past practices and past policy, and exactly as it was outlined in the feasibility study. Essentially, there has been no change. We have reviewed it and updated any new property ownership. I think we have 10 properties that on county records have changed hands since the feasibility study was put together. Again, so it's been updated from that standpoint, but again, on the same, exactly as it was outlined in the feasibility study and presented to the residents during neighborhood meetings, etc. So,
Are those based on progressive payments then?
Pardon?
Do you do progressive payments for that where you pay them, you know, and then this is the final one of them?
in terms of the assessment, or?
Yeah.
So the assessment as it works is, and again, we'll outline this in a lot more detail at the feasibility hearing, and again, there's information here on the attachment. So the assessment hearing, the way that works is notices will go out to the property owners here this week, or actually I think probably by next week. We got a little window of time here. So an exact notice goes out to the property owners. There's an example of it here on the document attached called Notice of Hearing on Proposed Assessment. This is the legal document based on state statute that has to go out to the property owners. And it will state the amount of their assessment and payment process, et cetera, and basically, again, announces the public hearing that is proposed. The public hearing is proposed for October 21st. There's also a published notice that goes in the paper, again, part of the requirement of state statute, announcing the assessment hearing, etc. What I have traditionally done and we are proposing to do, you'll see there's also a cover letter that's on the SEH letterhead. That's a cover letter that we typically sent out with the assessments to kind of explain in real simple terms what this legal document says. So the way the assessments work is if they're approved by council at the October 21st meeting, a property owner has 30 days where they can elect to pay the assessment in full if they would wish. And if they do that, they are charged no interest. After 30 days, any unpaid assessments are basically certified to the county and are payable beginning next year with show up as a line item on your tax statement. And they'd be assessed over a 15-year period. And you can see at the interest rate that's listed, it's significantly good, 3.7%. So again, so a person that, if they elect to just roll on the taxes, they pay that on an annual basis over a 15-year period at 3.7%. So that's how, in a nutshell, that's how it works. And there is a process, again, by state statute, where if somebody was either senior citizen, disabled, veteran on active duty, financially unable to pay, and there's a process where a person can defer assessments. It doesn't make the assessment go away, it doesn't make the interest go away, but it takes away the need to have to make payment during the time limit.
During that 30.
During the lifetime of when they live in that property. So a lot of times, the persons that would take advantage of that statute, deferment statute, is somebody that's maybe real elderly, and they're probably not going to live more than a few years in the home. Maybe they're planning to move out or something like that. And making payments is a financial hardship, so they can get a deferment so that they don't have to make payments until the house sells and then the assessment is finalized. But that.
So even a regular property owner there, they can take it easy and make the payments over the next 15 years anyway. I mean,
Correct.
And it's not that high on their tax bill.
Correct. Yep, so it's just to spread the payment out, so. You'll find, I think, it'll be interesting to see, again, the level of these assessments, and again, it's noted in the assessment roll. The people that had the overlay improvements, residential properties is $2,114 per unit. Commercial properties was $27.48 per unit. For those that lived on County Road 37, 7th Street and 10th Avenue, the residential properties were $4,600 per unit, and commercial was $5,980 per unit. Those level of assessments are quite a bit less than what we were seeing in the full reconstruction projects. They're actually probably about double. I think people are paying about $10,000 for those. So these assessments will be lower. It'll be interesting to see. We'll probably get a lot of people just prepaying, unless they see that 3.7% interest. It's not a bad deal.
Chris, what happens when you have a house where their backyard is on now 10th Street, West County Road 37, and their front entrance is on a street that also had an overlay done?
Yeah.
Are they assessed both?
Well, there was a few that were kind of unique, and we had to look at those on an individual basis. There was even some properties that had 3 sides. And in that case, it was, their front was on a cul-de-sac, their side was on a side street. Both of those streets had overlays. It really just made sense that was just treated as an overlay. There's other properties where the building faced County Road 37. Their driveway was on an overlay street, and they were treated as a half unit for each type of improvement. And so there was just a few that were like that, but for the most part, everybody, it was pretty straightforward. So.
Because I actually, there are a couple of folks that I know that have that situation, so I might be asked the question, so I wanted to
Yep.
at least. Thank
Well,
you.
for me, do you charge the full charge, so it would be two assessments?
No, so the way corner properties are treated is if there's two streets,
Right.
two streets that are being improved, they get treated half an assessment on this street and half an assessment on this street.
So it's still with the one amount?
One amount. And again, in the case we're talking about here, there was a situation, few properties where the situation was they fronted or their driveway was on an overlay street, their house faced the reclaimed street, so County Road 37, and they got a half unit for this one, half unit for this one, and this half unit's a little bit bigger than this half unit.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because there is a couple over there by you, and you will get that question.
Okay. Any other questions for Chris?
I noticed that it's in our packet, this is just an example for
This
the
is an
railroad,
example.
right? This is what a
Yep.
railroad might get.
Yeah, I always like you to see kind of what the resident is going to see.
Okay.
And then, like I said, it's kind of confusing for folks. So the cover letters to kind of explain in more simpler terms what this means.
The reason he's asking is if you go to the second
Oh.
page, the 3rd paragraph, that this one's addressed to the railroad.
Oh, yeah,
It should say draft on the top.
yeah. It is a draft. And the railroad's not going to get a notice because they're a right-of-way and they're not going to assess, but they show up as a parcel, so.
We could try.
We have them listed on the assessment roll, but they won't be nailed.
We could always change it for that depot.
So, yeah, I guess, and so, yeah, unless there's any other questions, again, the notices will, again, by statute, notices will go out to the residents as well as be published in the paper. And again, proposing to have the assessment hearing on Monday, October 21st at 6 o'clock.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the resolution requiring the cost to be assessed, ordering preparation of closed assessment, and calling for the public hearing on the proposed assessment for October 21st, 2019.
Second.
I got a second by Sean Ryan. If there's no other comments, questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Thanks, Chris. I guess you're just on a roll. You're going to take the next one.
Oh, I should suggest that, do we have any comments about the roundabouts?
All positive.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely black marks.
The one funny thing that did pop up is a youth representative on one of our boards said that when the traffic gets really not backed up, but moving through there, that some people just go straight across the roundabout. They don't bother going around. They're impatient.
They'll let me do that for a while, Jim.
But otherwise, it's been really, I've heard nothing but good.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Now, those roundabouts, are those going to be similar in style at the 2020 project?
The one up by the school is probably, by the high school is probably going to be the most similar to the ones down here.
Okay.
The one at 37 and 7th and Columbus is a little bit bigger just because there's just a lot more room there. It's actually kind of a medium size roundabout. There's a turn.
Just was wondering. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Chris, you're going to take the next on our, we got any public comment on our ADA transition plan?
Yeah. So I guess as of to date, the ADA transition plan was posted on the city's website. I noted again to seek comment. It was also sent out on Facebook with a blast. In fact, I know I saw it on my Facebook. So, but as of to date, I and neither staff has received any comments on the plan. So, I guess at this point, it is a living document, and anybody can still comment on it at any time. There is again a process for individuals to either make comment or raise concerns and things like that. But I guess at this point, here to entertain any questions. Otherwise, at this point we're recommending council adopt it as a policy.
So if we adopt it, does this document then go to some authority, or is it just something that we need to keep on file here?
We may, again, it'll be public documents, so anybody can ask for it. It's possible at some point, either a MnDOT or
Project.
Pardon?
Or it could be a federal project.
Yeah, well, because we are using federal funding on the downtown project, we are supposed to have an ADA transition plan adopted. So is anybody going to ask for it? I don't know. They may ask, do you have one? Yes, we have one. Is it been adopted? Yes, well, presumably it will be. I think about the only thing really for, one of the important things to consider is, again, Public Works and Council need to give consideration, in the future, again, providing some budget for addressing, non-compliant pedestrian ramps and things like that. I think probably after next year's project, starting to look in 2021 is trying to address, how do we address some of the worst of the worst. Picking a quantity that can be done and seeing what the costs come out like that. So I think more of anything is just to consider, the budget impact or the budget, what it implies to the budget in the future and stuff like that.
Any other questions?
All this little writing?
I know Rick made a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
And I got a second by Bruce Wolf. So if there's no other comments, all in favor of approving the transition plan, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Ken?
Can I give you the brief version of the item here in front of you? So right now for building permits and miscellaneous payments at City Hall, we have 2 credit card vendors, one for online payments, which is basically our building permit portal, and then one for in-person payments. Online payments are for Solvent, in-person is authorized.net. Our vendor, ultimately Untitled Technology, that covers both Encode and Intergov, has notified us that we no longer have one of their preferred vendors as our credit card vendor, and they have a new vendor that passes all their security requirements and provides their preferred vendor status moving forward, and to be fully integrated with any software upgrades that we do plan to complete, certainly with building projects in the near future, and the IT upgrades we'll be talking about hopefully in October. And that vendor is OpenEdge. We had gone through the exercise with OpenEdge to take a look at our permits and other payments that we take per month, and basically look at the month of June, which is kind of a typical month for us for building permits in particular. And their fees would be 28% savings, which is only about $32 a month, but certainly that can add up to a couple $100, a few $100 over the course of a year. Even bigger than that, we have right here a bit of manual reconciling that happens between our online payment vendor currently and the software and our accounting staff. When we do our upgrade, this will integrate that directly, so we'll get rid of some of that manual reconciliation we have to do. If we approve the agreement here tonight, we do have a 30-day out with our current solvent vendor, which is for the online building permits, but we would not give that notification until everything is up and running. City Attorney Scott Riggs did review the contract language, which is in the form of an application, but it is a contract by terms of what we are agreeing to. The only fee up front that we have is $325 for new card readers. It provides the chip reader security. Right now we only have the stripe reader, so that is a good upgrade to have as well. And I don't think I have anything else to note. But on the second page over here in the memos, where you can kind of see a breakdown of their fees being less than their current vendors, and savings just on a 1 month average, but over the course of the year will be a few $100s. So I do recommend, with the city attorney's recommendation as well, to approve the merchant application, which is attached to the memo.
Anyone have any questions for Ken?
Okay, I wondered why we don't charge a customer.
We looked at it, and going back to when we initially started doing the building permits online in particular, just more of a convenience factor to do that. Now, we do charge a technology fee currently, which helps pay for the online permitting software and those other type things that helps offset that.
What pays the technology fee?
The building permit applicants pay for that.
Okay.
It's on every permit now. So we're getting a portion of it back. But we don't call it a credit card fee. We don't want to discourage anybody from using it.
Does that offset the cost of the program?
It does offset the cost of the program, not fully, just a portion of it. We could add a fee, but we would need to specifically add that as a credit card fee, and I think just based on our history with that and our utility billing, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't charge a specific credit card fee for that. Trying to be consistent with that as well.
Well, yeah, my mind went directly to Scott County, and of course you pay a fee when you pay your property taxes.
Yep.
And
But that's
those
a
governmental units, I'm familiar with.
The sewer account does.
Yeah, that's a separate vendor. That doesn't go directly to the county.
I don't know how that's.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so we budget for the credit card fees, obviously. I think we're at a couple $1,000s a year over the course of a year. So it's not huge. It's more of a staff savings just on, certainly for the online permits, the number of people we don't have to have come in, stand at the counter, 15 minutes to get a permit, they can do it online in the middle of the night. So it's a big time saver for staff to be able to do that.
Sky County does have a contract with an independent vendor to handle the online payment system, which is why they're able to charge a fee to directly cover the cost of doing that, and then they remit those permit fees, taxes to the county, so that the county doesn't have
The
to.
state does that as well.
And therein is why you're paying a much larger fee than if you were paying directly to us. Plus, they just don't have to get into the hassle of it either.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? If not, I guess I'll look for a motion to approve the new merchant application.
So moved.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Sean Ryan, second by Maggie Bass. If there's no other comments or questions, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is mine, Honorable Mayor and City Council. This is just we have budgeted for a new squad. We generally budget one every year. We look at turning them over, our marked squads, every 5 years within that rotation then. This year we would be looking at replacing a 2016 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor utility. And I got a bid from Jeff Belzer, New Prague Ford, which in my history with the city of New Prague, 32 years, we have always purchased from them. But they have always been real competitive with the state contract also. Ford of Hibbing has the state contract, and they came in at $33,180.56. And on last Monday, a week ago, I got the bid back from Gerard from New Prague Ford, or I'm sorry, from Jeff Belzer Ford, and that was $33,350. So you can see there's just under $170 difference there, and it is a budgeted item, and I would recommend that we purchase the 2020 Ford Utility Police Interceptor from Jeff Belzer, New Prague Ford.
And you noted that this vehicle is going to be used by inspection department?
Yeah.
They replaced our 2008 F-150. It's starting to deteriorate, which will move to the park department for some more rough work.
So
in
do
the
you
field.
still need to put decals and electronics in?
Yeah, and yeah, I budgeted about $17,000 for all the switchover to rebuild.
And that's
tear down the old
got
one.
the plate readers and all of that stuff, right? The whole package?
No plate readers in them.
No.
They get billed out with our radio, radar, our computer mount.
And that's why
yeah,
there's not like plate readers or anything advanced on them?
We do not have a plate reader, no. No. But yeah, that costs about 17, and I know, talking to the builders, we use a EATI up in, they have an office in Jordan now, a workshop up there. The 2020 models changed enough that we'll have to switch out purchase new seats and probably new cages, but we'll get pricing on that. Should be within the budget.
What was the difference, Jim, between the 19 and the 20?
We did not get one in 19, actually.
Well, I mean, when we approved this,
oh.
you could have bought this car in January, and it could have been a 2019. But now we waited until September, October, and now it's a 2020. I was just kind of curious if there's, because I thought the budgeted amount was, and I could be wrong, but I thought it was like 26 or 27,000, and now it's 33. And I could be wrong with that, but
No, it was lower. It was, the overall price of the utility went up, and they transitioned from our 18 that we bought last year to not really doing 2019s and retooling, and even in 19, when you order vehicles, they were called 2020s.
They were, so
Yeah.
we would have bought this in January, February, and it was listed as a 19.
It would have been the same price, because they would have said, hey, you asked to bid a 19, we don't have 19s, they're 2020s. At the end of last summer, they were doing 2020s already. Yeah, they were gonna be down for 4 to 6 months to retool and everything. So I think they just opted out, they retooled and made a quick changeover when they were doing the calendar year, and just went right into 20s.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for answering that.
Off this total, you don't see any trade-in price. There's 6,000 budgeted in the plant, in the building inspection department that's applied to this that reduces the police obligation down to about 27,350.
Okay. Any other questions?
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion by Rick Seiler, and I will second that to approve the purchase of a 2020 Ford utility for the police from Jeff Belzer. If there's any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything that is in the consent agenda? If there's not anything, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second, Rick, and I got a second by Rick Seiler. If there's no other comments, questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. Now we're at miscellaneous. Ma'am, do you want to address the council?
Me?
Yes.
No, thank you.
Okay. Mitch, you got anything?
Not today.
Okay, Chris, anything else?
Nope. See you Saturday.
Okay. Patrick?
See you Friday and Saturday.
All right, okay. James?
Just that we are geared up for the weekend work, and we have extra officers scheduled, so we'll be available.
Good, thank you. Patty?
Nothing.
Nothing? Glenn?
Geared up for weekend work, and we have nobody extra, so. Other than that, no, we're still working on the Main Street project. We're finalizing plans, getting ready to send those off to central office, which is, I don't want to say the last step, but it's as close to the last step as getting those plans approved that you could probably get. So that's, everybody's working pretty hard at that.
How many more, do we still have more of those agreements we need to get? I think the last number, Mike, was 10.
For the easements.
I think when we asked you to take authorization, it was 12.
Right.
We're down to 11 as of now.
Okay. Okay.
Did you hear news, Glenn, that I got stuck when I was out checking out the roundabouts, and 4 of you guys came and picked my wheelchair up and set it down on the sidewalk?
Didn't hear that.
Yeah, I gotta thank them for that.
You gotta stand in the mud.
Yeah, yeah. You better put chains on.
Yeah, there you go.
Anything else, Glenn?
That's all I got.
Ken?
Nothing.
Okay, Michael? Barb?
No.
Maggie?
No.
Sean? Oh, you're killing me.
I can't believe it went around the horn like that. I just had a quick question and just an observation that I wanted to ask Glenn about. In the last week's New Prague Times, they showed our city staff patching holes on Main Street, but yet last winter, that was like a no-no. We couldn't touch that. We had to wait for MnDOT to do it. I'm just kind of curious what the difference was.
Well, we're in the curb line.
Okay,
We're doing the curb that they won't touch,
okay.
and we don't ask permission because it's got to be done before Doziki Days, or they will.
And I'm all for it. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
I'm just.
And if we do it in the drive lane, then we will get a call and we'll get a talking to that we're not authorized to do that.
Okay.
They're a little more tolerant with us in the parking lane or in that area than they are in the through lane. The through lane really is their baby. The parking lane, they kind of, yeah, it is part of theirs, but as far as they're concerned, they wouldn't even have a parking area
Okay.
on a state highway.
It's kind of like the snow removal.
Yeah.
We have to do the snow removal in the parking areas. We can't touch or remove the snow on the main line. And so it's that kind of thing, but we think that it's worth taking that risk to do the work in the parking areas, that with the volume of people that we're gonna have here on Friday and Saturday, we try to make sure that we minimize any slip, trip, falls into areas that don't. And so in that case, we do what we think we need to do to make that a much safer event.
And couldn't agree more with you. I'm glad that they did it. I'm sure I wasn't the only one in New Prague that, after considering the problems that we had for weeks and weeks and weeks getting MinDOT out there on Main Street and people's damaged cars and alignments off and everything else. I probably made the same leap too, so I wanted to get that out there just so they understand
But
there's a
that
little difference
difference
between the
is
drive
the
lane.
main
and the-
drive lanes versus the parking areas.
And just for your information, we put 9 ton of tar in those holes and cracks and 9 ton.
Wow.
That's up
They
at
were
the
deep.
curb.
But how many dump trucks is that going?
That's 2 trucks, 2 of our small trucks.
Anything else?
Yeah, they were deep holes.
Rick, you got anything?
Just, Ken was gone while Mark Applebaum was here. Have you looked at any more of maybe putting a crosswalk and making it more accessible for the handicap? Remember me and you were looking at how we could do that?
You're talking to get across 10th or
37, yeah, 10.
10th? Yeah.
Well, that's 10 then, that's.
Yeah.
You know, it's something we've kind of talked even when we did the CUP review of that, and really until First Street goes all the way through, we'll kind of hold that off, probably looking at that more until that point, just for the cross traffic to increase further. That's something we can talk to Chris and traffic people about, but yeah, we talked about it at a high level when we were doing the initial planning for the building. So we haven't completely forgot about it.
Okay.
And I've talked with gentleman that's kind of running Prague Village for Mr. Applebaum now.
Or John, or whatever his name is.
Bill. Bill
Yes.
Peters.
Bill Peters. And, yep, we've not forgotten about it, so.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Bruce?
Just a couple pieces of information from the SCALE meeting. SCALE's been, or at least the subcommittee of the SCALE's been working on a new public health nuisance ordinance. And they're presenting it to that group, but I think long term, they would like to see the city councils adopt the same ordinance and have uniformity in that ordinance. So there may be something that might come to us in the future.
There's a 21-year-old for vaping and,
No, this would deal with having a way to legally access properties or houses or buildings of people that may have, how would I say, nuisance, cockroaches, a lot of
Boarding.
things like
Boarding houses, that type of thing.
Yeah, that type of thing, where there might be an elderly person or other persons, people with special needs or family members that would like them to have somebody in there to look at.
Do you know what he's talking about? So can we adopt that to what you had going on the rental property?
It's a kind of a separate item. There, a little bit of things are related there, but no, I think it's probably a good thing to have uniformity throughout the county. But, you know, I'll wait to see what the county moves forward with.
Yeah, it did sound like there may be a couple areas that may cross over because the public nuisance would involve all if it gets to a certain point. But it is attacking it from a different perspective and a different need versus the inspection where there is crossover. And then secondly, SCALE talked about maybe in the next 12 months or something doing a public road show if there's any cities that would like to hear an update on what they're about and what they do. So maybe next year we're open to it. We have a representative to come to our meeting. So that's it.
okay. And I did get contacted from someone from Scale regarding the 21-year-old moving the age to 21 for tobacco and vaping, things like that. Just be cognizant that might be something that they might want us to direct. I did mention my opinion on it, that I felt it should be done at the state level, and this person did agree with that, but they didn't know if the state would address it in the legislature this year, but that's something they would like to try to get.
In lieu of the information that's been coming out the last week or two, it's changed my mind. I'm ready to do it because I was on the same way you were at the state.
Yeah.
But might be something we want to look at.
Yeah, so just be cognizant that you might get contacted or have someone give your opinion. But that's all I had. If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second by Rick Seiler. If there's no other comments, all in adjournment, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, we're adjourned, everyone. Thank you very much. We're going to take about a 5